Hello. A very good evening to another present here. I welcome you all to a webinar of India, Sustainable Growth for 5 Trillion Economy, organized by Bioleagues and Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Management Studies and Research, Deekshabhoomi, RTM Nagpur University, India. I would extend my warm welcome to our speakers and the participants who have joined this session, beginning with the overview of our Bioleagues. About our Bioleagues as a globally recognized professional associations operating under the Technology Research and Development Association. Bioleagues worldwide is dedicated to the out-and-out advancement, proliferations, and furtherance of research and development activities in the field of medical science, paramedical science, life science, and healthcare. As an organization that is dedicated to the concerned furtherance of research and experimentations, Bioleagues facilitates this scientific discourage through its organizing and conducting of high-level international medical conferences, webinars, workshops, and faculty development programs, and so on. A small brief about our webinar topic. India can become a 5 trillion economy by 2024. To achieve this, GDP needs to grow steadily over the next few years. It is a challenging task, but it's achievable. To reach this goal, the economy will need an acceleration in economic growth momentum beyond baseline expectations. India can look towards inclusive and sustainable growth, which improves living standards for everyone and leaves a strong foundation to capitalize on opportunities of the future. In this webinar, the challenges like increasing investment, improving productivity and education and health outcomes, creating jobs, rising agricultural productivity, maintaining macroeconomic stability, managing global megatrends, and improving governance will be discussed. The objective of the webinar is to discuss the current economic scenario and measures that India needs to adapt to revitalize and stimulate its economic growth. Now I would like to welcome our esteemed speakers for the session. Our first speaker of the session is Dr. Nirzar Kulkarni. He is an Associate Director, Professor, and Dean in Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Management Studies and Research, Deekshabhoomi, India. He is an BE, MBA, SET, MCM, PhD qualified person, and he has conducted training in institutes like MCED, TAL, WCL, Banamati, and MSCBTI. He has been awarded as a best researchers by ISORD for a best paper. He is a recognized PhD supervisor, and 14 PhDs are awarded to candidates under him. And he is also a recognized PhD evaluator and referee. He has published 31 papers in journals of repute. He has presented 12 papers in international conferences. He has 5 Scopus publications and 2 Web of Science papers. He has published books in the area of operation research, general management, international business, and quantitative techniques, and he has 2 copyrights and 3 patents to his field. We welcome you, sir. Over to you. This session is over to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Can you allow me to start my video, or is it okay with only sound?
We need video presentation.
Yeah, is my slide visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah, so good afternoon, friends. At the outset, I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to introduce this topic in the beginning itself. And I will be discussing about the Vision 2024 in Indian context, particularly in the sectors of education and one more. Yeah, all this discussion basically started on 15th August 2019 when our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, expressed the confidence that the India can achieve the 5 trillion mark by 2024. And from that date, the discussion totally went on this direction, and all the efforts by the Indian government are towards the achievement of this target, because this is a very important milestone, so as to say, in terms of Indian economy post independence. And one more milestone, we have crossed 3 trillion recently, and that is how we have crossed UK and became the 5th largest economy of the world. And maybe by 2024 we will be adding our GDP, and so that the 5 trillion mark is achieved. The more recently, our Prime Minister also had said that we have laid the strong foundations in terms of infrastructure, economic policies, agriculture policies, and the services and the jobs, so that we can really build and achieve this target within 2 years from now. And as a leader of the country, if he has demonstrated and spoken about with confidence, I feel that he has done his job. Rest of the job will be done by the policy makers and implementers and the corporates in India, particularly to drive and strive for this kind of a goal to be achieved by 24. The country has made itself so strong in last 5 years that PM says that such targets can be set and can be achieved. Now, what we need as on date post-COVID is the confidence, and this confidence is given to every citizen of India by our PM Modi ji. What 5 trillion really means? 5 trillion economy is the size of economy measured by the GDP, and the gross domestic product, as everybody knows, is calculated with all countries, and so it is a tool to compare the economies of the countries, who is ahead, who is back, who can take over whom. So these are the issues and it is also important for us to understand where we are, so that we can chart a path for progress to achieve some concrete figures in GDP. So 2014 we had 1.85 trillion, and in 2018 we are 2.7 trillion, and in 2021 we have crossed 3 trillion. So clearly the trajectory of Indian economy, GDP, is seen as a fastest growing economy in the world. And the point over here is, it is not only fastest growing, but it can sustain. I mean, it has a chance to sustain this growth and speed of growth, the acceleration that is required. So that can be sustained because of various reasons, that advantages the India has. And I hope the challenges will be overcome by this government, and we will achieve this target of 5 trillion. Recently, we have crossed UK, and we will cross these 2 other countries, and to make it visible as in 24. Now, apart from the monetary definition, the 5 trillion economy calls for pulling various economic growth levers like investments, consumption, exports, agriculture, in the various sectors of agriculture, manufacturing, and services. So predominantly these 3 sectors contribute towards the economy of India, and these are also connected some way to the ambitious sustainable development goals, SDGs as popularly called, and somewhere they are also connected to the world SDGs also, because India is a major populous country, and the huge amount of population is there in India, and that is how the world SDGs are also. I mean, if we do not contribute, then probably these SDGs won't be achieved by worldwide. So by attaining the double-digit growth, India has hope of employing regularly 1 million young people, and favorable demographics are also working in a positive manner. And India is poised to have a upper middle and the middle class probably thriving. And with these two factors, I suppose that we are in a position to achieve the 5 trillion economy very soon. India is the sixth largest economy. Does not necessarily mean that Indians are the fifth richest people on the planet. Also, fifth, sorry, it's not sixth. Why it is so? Dear friends, the per capita GDP, if we calculate, then we are far low as compared to the developed countries like US, China, UK, even UK and Germany and all that. Why? Because we have a population. Dividing factor is population, and that is how per capita GDP is reduced drastically. So, I mean, UK's income is almost 21 times that of average income of average Indian if you take 2020 data. So, looking at the per capita GDP, we may be taking a back seat, but looking at the overall country's GDP, we will have the positive side on our side. Though the overpopulation is on one side disadvantage, but on the other side it is a very good advantage, because all these targets can be achieved on sustained basis only and only if the domestic consumption is ensured. And India, the basic amenities domestic consumption will be there, and that will be rising steadily at a rate of around 10% in every sector. That is what I feel. And this domestic consumption basically will lead to achievement of such kind of targets. Otherwise, like Southeast Asian economies who have grown once upon a time very fast, but later on they could not sustain it because their target, their fundamental was on exports, and the exports may deviate from time to time depending on the various world economic scenarios like wars and other things. But this is not the case with India, and that is how the India is on a strong footing, because the domestic consumption is going to rise, and that is going to drive our economy further. Some of the growth will come from exports, but we have to understand that this domestic consumption is a major contributor for the prosperity of the country. So, if we achieve this 5 trillion mark, then probably we will be third largest economy in the world after US and China. They are way ahead. I mean, if we want to compare as on today, US somewhere is around 20 trillion and China is on 13 trillion. So, and we are envisioning for 5 trillion. So it is, China is almost 3 times, US is almost 4 times. So we had still a huge path to cover from our side. The focus is on boosting the service sector contribution to 3 trillion, manufacturing to 1 trillion, and agricultural to 1 trillion. See, 5 trillion broadly is classified like this, and these are the sector targets for Indian economy. Out of which I feel that agricultural and manufacturing to achieve 1 trillion is probably okay, because they have not set a very huge target. But service sector 3 trillion is, I feel that it is a huge target, because the gap is more. This slide indicates around what are the key issues which will drive the economy and will add to GDP. The first and foremost is the energy, and a lot of reforms are undertaken by Indian government regarding power generation, power distribution, inviting private investments, and private-public partnership, the third-party contracts, and the outsourcing also is involved into the energy management of the Indian scenario. So energy for all is also one of the important target. The moment we provide energy, a lot of economic wheels, start rotating, which right now are not rotating on those, for those who are deprived from power. So this is the very important aspect. Power is required. Second is education, and India in 2020 has narrated about national education policy, which is a totally drastic transformation of existing education system in India to a very new education system, very flexible education system, empowering really the students, and the power is given to the students for the choice, for what he wants to learn, what is his interests, and so on and so forth, rather than a standardized pill like what is going on presently. So I feel that more the education, the more will be the economic contribution of the citizens. So that is how education is also very important. Also, education industry itself will be generating some kind of GDP and contributing towards it. Third was healthcare, universal healthcare record, universal healthcare schemes, and healthcare for all, and some insurance scheme for the poor people for covering their health issues. These are the initiatives taken by government, and many, I mean, the generic medicines have also, the price has been lowered. These are the issues which are addressed, and probably I feel that this will take us to increase the contribution of healthcare sector from pharmaceutical sector, hospital sector, and the overall healthcare sector. Also, here I would like to bring to your kind notice that the herbal medicine, the traditional knowledge of India, Ayurveda, is also on a big move, and that is also going to generate and contribute towards GDP, because more people from the world will be attracted to this kind of tourism, this kind of treatments, rather than the allopathic treatments. And already we have seen some kind of a flow in this direction, and that also will contribute greatly to the economy. E-governance, many e-governance features have been added to the for the citizenship of India, and the life has become more comfortable, more simple, hassle-free due to e-governance technologies involved into the Indian society. Government is also trying to establish the 21st century IT infrastructure and the capabilities, increase the capabilities of servers, cloud spaces, so that the transactions can take place, and really the platforms are made available for the new entrepreneurs to venture out into the new ideas and innovation. The financial service sector is also growing, one of the important service sectors, and a lot of, I will say that almost 99% of financial products have been converted into services, and they are online, available on online platform, digital platforms, and the technology platforms. And fintech was the buzzword in last 5-10 years in India, and really the fintech has delivered, so as to say that more participation was there from citizens of India regarding the market related products, the shares, the equities, the funds. Otherwise, the reach of these funds and equities was very minuscule in India. But right now, because of fintech, I can see that today we have around 20 crore people who are on the digital platforms and participating in the growth story of the financial services. And these financial services is dragging the money of a household investor, household savings to the economy, because it is ultimately going to corporate, and corporate is churning out the various new products and services, again making super profits, and that is how wheel gets rotated and the employment is getting created. And this is very important to understand that fintech is really has worked wonders in last 10 years in India, so as to say. The vision of this government was to double the income of the farmers, and that has not taken place so far, as I feel. But government is very positive on this, and they have not lost the track. They are still working on it, and they will achieve it in some way or the other by 24. That ultimately they are going to convert the farmer produce markets, which are localized on regional basis, to a universal online platforms. And if the information real time will be shared regarding price, availability, and the quality, then probably the farmer's income will be increasing, because he can sell at a proper price, and that mechanism also government is trying to establish. Of course, challenges are much more rather than other sectors in this kind of sector, because India is a huge country, and diversity in terms of crops, in terms of the growing patterns, in terms of the land owned by the individual farmers vary to a drastically level. And that is why it will be a problem area, but government is still working on it. The manufacturing sector, the government has taken 3-4 schemes. Like first was Make in India, so start making in India, don't import. Then Make for India, so growth for India, make for India, and then the Make for the world. So these are the three themes which Modi government has launched, and so far I suppose that Make in India and Make for India has been largely successful, because ultimately Make for the world is connecting Indian manufacturing to the global supply chain. And when we are talking about connection with global supply chain, we have to see about the quality and the reliability of supply. There are some logistical problems which government is trying to solve, but online platforms, IoT, manufacturing, is everything is online, is particularly lined up. And in defense segment, I can surely tell you, because defense segment is a very huge segment, and there India has make its presence felt by Make in India scheme, and a lot of indigenization in terms of armories and the warfare equipments is being done very successfully. And later on, strategic partnership with MNCs in defense sector to bring out the investment in India, and so as the job also gets created in India. So that is also being done in helicopters, in missiles, in so many other parts, other defense segments. Really, the challenge before the government is the creation of jobs, and these jobs are going to require very different kind of skills, not qualifications. And therefore, in new education policy, government has focused all the aspects of skills, so that a person acquires skills and he will be put it to use and can earn bread and butter. So that is really the challenge. This is almost done. So in India, in last 4 or 5 years, we can see that there is a ease of living, and ease of living also contributes to more activity, economic activity, and this also in a way helps the helps economy to achieve 5 trillion mark. Indians, because of our prime minister and the government steps, Indians are feeling right now empowered by the economy. Now, this is a very important concept, because the normal citizen has to feel it, that yes, I can contribute and the economy will return to me something where I can see my growth. And this empowerment and confidence is being incorporated in Indian citizens, which I believe is a major outcome of Modi government. The World Happiness Report India was ranked, a very was a laggard that way. But very recently, we have found that happiness index regarding education, health, and everything has increased, and we will progress on that front. The second attribute would be equality of opportunity. On that part, India is still way behind the major economies of the world because of the traditions, gender, income, sex, many other issues are there, and which forces, restricts India to have to provide the equality of opportunity. So Indian government is working heavily on this, and gender sensitizations and the workforce balancing and the recruitment of women is on cards, and slowly we will achieve, but still we will not achieve the mark by 24, I feel, as far as China is concerned, or because there it is almost, I mean, no difference at all. But in India, we will achieve somewhere around 20-25%. That is also good enough to start with equality. The recent released Global Multi-Poverty Index shows that India has lifted around 270 million people out of poverty from 2006 to 16, 10 years almost. And this is the concrete figure, and this we can feel, we can see in India this is happening. So these uplifted people are basically contributing towards the economic development. Because such kind of from 2016 to 24, again 10 years will be input, and I am confident that around 600 million people will be pulled out of poverty, and they will be shifted to lower middle or middle class, which will be the growth drivers for the economy. The three pillars which are suggested by government is expansion of output, the focus on high impact industries and emerging sectors, and MSMEs. The big corporations are limited in India, and the big corporations have limitations in terms of growth, in terms of job creation, and therefore the total contributions of MSMEs, that is micro, small, and medium enterprises. So government is totally focusing on these micro, small, and medium enterprises, and they will be the growth engines in future, and they will take India to 5 trillion mark. This is what is the actual thing, not the big corporations which we see as a index of our stock market. They won't be contributing much. Their contribution will be 10%. 90% will come from micro, small, and medium enterprises, which are going to rise, and they are really rising day by day. To boost the electronics, government has given some concessions in tax and to attract the investment in electronics. Particularly, this is happening because there is some problem going on in China because of COVID, because of other problems, Ukraine and other crises. World over, ultimately the manufacturing is trying to shift from China to else, because they don't want to depend solely on China, and that is how we learned that Foxconn issue is going on, and Foxconn has also committed a big investment in India because they are trying to now pull back from China, and there is no other destination than India, so they will be coming to India, and it will give rise to a lot of employment and other things. So these are the initiatives they are taking. Auto components is another sector, because automobile industry is growing in India, whereas in all developed countries it is almost saturated. Whereas in India it is creating wonders. And though companies who are bleeding in US have survived because of Indian market, because they are present in India, they are making in India, and they are selling in India. So that is how auto components is also very important segment. We are very good at it, and already the supply chain is established, and therefore the Indian auto component sector is only providing to all Ford and Toyota and all German manufacturers. They are the suppliers. So there it is. We have already, the success is already there. Now it is going to expand further. With electric drives, maybe this supply chain will undergo a change, and new products and new components will have to be developed. This will also give rise to totally new opportunities in auto sector. Similarly, the aeronautical sector, the space sector, the garment and organic and Ayurvedic products, particularly the organic food market, is also on a rise in India, and many farming communities have clubbed together. Cooperatives have been formed to basically provide the organic products and they will grow organic products. This will also will get helped by the biotechnology and the electric mobility and the delivery mechanisms and the chemicals and the robotics. Micro, small and medium enterprises, the working group has suggested that the way to develop is India should provide a credit risk database and credit rating, and now we have started an exchange altogether, new exchange, so that SMEs, small medium micro enterprises also can be traded. They can also come into the stock market but not compete with others. So we have formulated a very different platform for them, and that will be also increasing the capitalization in SME sector. The agriculture sector is basically a problem sector in India, but government is doing a lot of things for that. In India, major issue of agriculture is agri education and research is not really on the ground. That is only on the lab, only on the universities, and that is where the gap exists. And the people who learn agricultural sciences, they don't come and contribute to agriculture. That is the major issue. So with the new education policy, particularly government is trying to skill these people and bring them into the core agriculture so that they can contribute and something could be churned out of this. Also, green methods are to be adopted, and natural methods are to be adopted, and there also the contribution of these learned people is required. The livestock management is one very important side business to farming, and it acts as a leverage to give them income as a safety when the weather is against us. So probably along with the livestock, along with the new type of new crops, I think the Indian farming is poised to grow, and the problems will be overcome, and the doubling of the farmers' income will be there by 24. That is what I foresee. Renewable energy also, government has invited private investments, and very recently a very huge solar farms, wind farms have been installed, and I am very happy to share that the solar installed capacity of the solar power in India is today's the world's biggest. This country has contributed to so much. So the government is not only speaking, they are also doing. So today this is the largest established installed capacity, green energy capacity, I should say, solar, with no other country has. And that is how this also will be moving ahead in this direction. The farming business organization, today farming business is not reported as a business in India. Probably government is trying to register them also as a business, forming a new company as a farm business organization, and this will attract private investments, and opportunities in commodity management, commodity sale, purchase transactions will increase. This also can be connected to the global supply chain so as to earn the profits for the farmers. The education industry, I should say, the education industry in India is a different kind of industry, I will say. Because it is a trust-based industry, and these are non-profit organizations. Very recently it has happened that some corporates have started education industries, so as to say universities, and research laboratories as a profit centers, but government is reluctant to approve them. In future, we may experience that government is opening this sector and they can allow the profit motive companies to enter into the education. I can see the glimpses of such kind of moves by the government. Education in last 5 years in particular has undergone a sea change in India, in terms of technology adoption, in terms of making it available online, in terms of usage of technology by the students and faculty, in terms of usage of technology platform by universities, and the flexibility and empowerment which the student has been given by this kind of the system in university, which earlier was not there. Today, the standardized capsule education will not be there, and Indian government has has provided the opportunity of choice. Now, a student can pick what he wants to learn and still earn credits and grade the degrees, which will also ensure the skilling component, the interest component, and the actual delivery component. And that is how the good workforce is under making in India. In future, these are required for us to grow, really to contribute towards the 5 trillion economy. I suppose the National Education Policy 2020 is going to be implemented. As a member of one of the members of implementation committee, I have seen that already many courses have been restructured, and the total implementation will be there from 24. But I'm very happy to share at Nagpur University, we have already converted 3 curriculums, undergraduate curriculums and 2 postgraduate curriculums, in line with national education policy as it is said in the curriculum. So this will take us really way ahead. The 3 important aspects of the education is the consumer, that is the student, the institutions who are the providers, and the workers who are the teachers or the faculties. So these are the 3 stakeholders of this industry. Government has to realize that the major aspect is workers, and if the privatization goes on, then probably, and the commercial intention is increasing in the education industry, the problem with working staff will be there. Recently, we are finding very difficult to get good people as faculty, as the teachers, because every good person is attracted towards corporate. So we need to increase with privatization, with this new education policy. I foresee that the good people will also get attracted towards the faculty positions and the teaching staff, so that really the talent comes. In developed countries, the best of the best goes for the university teachers. In India, it is not like that, excepting barring few exceptions, that is IITs and IIMs. That is not even the 0.5% of Indian education what we are speaking about. 99.5% is major education, mass education is having this kind of problem, and this has to be resolved, because this will only ensure that good education and quality of education. Really, it's a challenge, and in India, quality of education for masses is a challenge, not for the classes. That education is already quality. We are competing globally with very good universities and institutions. There we are leaders, but for mass educations at a local level, regional level, the quality of education is really an issue. And for that, I feel this issue of workers, that is the teachers, is to be addressed. The institutional structures, government can change it is from the trust to non-profit to profit organizations also, and that can help. That also will resolve the issue of faculty. The initiatives by India is production centric to we have focus has changed from production centric to income centric. And then in agricultural export policy also, Indian Agriculture Ministry has set a target of $100 billion to integrate Indian farmers with high quality agricultural output to a global good value chain. I think that this will happen because already we are at around 60 billion. So I think 100 billion will be a achievable target by 24. The Industrial Policy 2018 provides over enhancing the sector analytics agenda of enterprises and envisions creating the globally competitive Indian industry that is modern, sustainable, and inclusive. Now India has also improved the ease of doing business index. On that index also we have done something. The Ministry of Commerce will ensure that Make in India should be successful so as to create India as a manufacturing hub. And regarding manufacturing innovation index, global innovation index also, we have improved our rank from 60 to 47. So that means we are moving ahead in terms of innovation. Just to tell you on this side that very recently I read a report wherein number of patents and copyrights filed in India has increased, manifold. And today we will be the 5th or 6th largest country, to file the patents and intellectual properties. Earlier, intellectual property India performance was very poor. But now with the government's initiative, I think we are moving ahead very fast. Startup India is a very dream scheme of Modi government, and Startup India is to promote the young entrepreneurs to not to venture for jobs, not to go for jobs, but to create job for others by creating the startup businesses. And a lot of data is available, but the failure rate of startups in India is huge. But then that will be like that only. That doesn't mean that the person or the young people should not try. Startup India scheme is there. They will protect such kind of failures and still help them to grow and to sustain and to earn profits. The more the enterprising people will join this scheme, the more job creation and economic development will take place. Also, there is one scheme by government like phased manufacturing program for MSMEs, and they are focusing on some priority sectors like electronics or the semiconductor sector and the mobile smartphones component sectors. I think this also will achieve some kind of the benefit for us. The strategic partnership in defenses for submarines, fighter jets, helicopters, armored vehicles, guns is already on cards, and many such partnerships have been already tied up, achieved, and they have started production also in India. This we have already covered, so I will not go for this. So feasibility is, technically speaking, on economic terms, India should grow nominally 12%, looking at 8% of actual GDP growth and 4% of inflation. But inflation is almost 6 to 7%. So I suppose that even if India is growing at 7%, still we can make it to 14% or 12%, and still we can achieve the 5 trillion mark. Last to this year, very recently, I have read that some of the good, people have said that India is poised to grow at around 7%, which is fair enough. This can be catapulted, this can be increased in near future. And I know that this government has a capacity to drive a mega growth in one year itself. So I'm expecting the 24 will be that year, where the government will put such initiatives, and they have already started, but they will start delivering in 24. And you will see that the world will see that on 24 itself, we will achieve this mark, even if we will not achieve the GDP growth year on year per se. The private investment is the key driver, and the demand creation and the labor productivity and introduction to new technology and creative destruction and generation of jobs. These are the major focus areas of private investments. I hope that Indian government has policies made for this, addressing to this, and will achieve some results. The challenges in agricultural sector is we are underemployment and disguised employment, very slow down in agricultural growth, slow agricultural growth. Really, the industrial approach is not adopted for agricultural farming or agricultural businesses. This is the major gap, and government is trying to look at it. Water resources, government is doing many things today. We have water resources arranged for almost every citizen. Urban and rural needs of water are being fulfilled with major infrastructural projects in water and irrigation. The roads and the infrastructure, rail infrastructure, the airports, there are many airports. The capacity enhancement is done. The private partnership, the private sector is managing the airports. So these are the positive developments. The ports are also being privatized, and we are having a huge amount of advantage as far as the coastal area ports is concerned. The challenge in the exports is and the logistic is the turnaround time, which is typically high in India as on date. Government is looking at it, how to turn around and how to make it fast and productive. Also, the low level of technology and maintenance, inefficiency of transporting industry is also there. Particularly we can say that a train goes to a destination, then probably it can the time it will spend over there idle, just to return back, that idle time without affecting the safety is a major challenge in India. Government is looking at is depressing pace in carrying out land and labor reforms. The issue is that government was doing something, but then they were pulled back, and they have to pull back, and the labor reforms and the farm reforms are on hold in India. Let us see in future government tries to resolve this, that they will take up the agricultural development to a new heights. Slow pace of infrastructure development, I don't feel that this is an issue, because government has already done major things. In terms of funding, government needs to develop a bond market, because as a developed countries has a deep bond markets for financial burdens of infrastructural development. Very recently, I have heard that National Highway Authority has released the mega investment through bonds, which will be financing the infrastructures. So a lot of things to happen in that sector also. Government involvement in business has to reduce down. That is the disinvestment, and the government has disinvested many businesses in past, and current year also the target was around 50,000 crores of disinvestment. So government wants to exit from the businesses and give it to the private people, so that the efficient organization and management will take place. The private investors will be called upon. The issue of stalling of projects is there. Right now we have a figure of around 11 lakh crores of projects, typically in railways, roadways, and power. They are stalled because of environmental, ecological, forest kind of laws. They are important, but then these 11 lakh crore projects have stalled. Now, if these 11 lakh projects start, then probably we will have a leaps and bounds in the economic development and the jobs also. So some such hassles are there. Government has to balance both the sides. On the world front, we have to be eco-friendly, we have to conserve the environment, and also has to achieve this kind of growth. So this is a conflicting issue, and government will resolve this. That is what I feel. Public money is coming into the investment, and that is a very positive sign. Earlier, Indian investor was putting into only bank or post office or some small savings. Now it is coming into the market in terms of equities, and that is how Indian investment, public money is getting investment. Way forward is we have to have a human development, we have to have a GDP targets, we have to create jobs, we have to have developed the bond markets. We have to develop non-banking financial institutions. We have to look for the modernizing of farm sector. So that is what is the issues way forward, and I am sure that this government will be addressing to this very soon, and we will achieve under the leadership of our Prime Minister 5 trillion mark in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your ideas and wonderful lectures. And I request you to all the participants to kindly turn on your camera so that we can able to take a picture of it. It is for our gallery purpose.
We are not able to turn on the video. The permission is not been granted.
Okay, so kindly wait. I would like to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Saket Narendra Bansod. He is the head of BVA, Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Management Studies and Research, Deekshabhoomi, Nagpur University, India. He is a MMS, SET, PhD qualified person, and he has won several awards in oratorship. He has published 12 research papers in International Journal of Repute. He has 4 Scoopers, 2 Web of Science, and 1 ABDC paper to read. He has awarded the Best Presentations Award by ISORD, and he has authored books on marketing management and aptitude development, and has 1 patent and 1 copyright to read. Welcome, sir. The session is over to you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you,
after the wonderful session by sir, I'll definitely try to match of whatever the way I can. I hope that the session will be equally informative and will be equally pleasing to the listeners who are around here. Do I need to turn on my camera? Or is it fine? Okay. So as rightly pointed out by Dr. Nirzar Kulkarni sir, basically India has always given a starting top in order to have the roadmap. And like rightly pointed out, it's a journey. A journey can which only be fulfilled once a person has fulfilled the dreams, he has charted the path, and rather went on a defined territory in order to reach there. This is Dr. Saket Bansod, and I would like to list down some of the important aspects in charting down the 5 trillion roadmap. Well, first and foremost, I would like to deal with the service sector. As service sector has often been termed as a tertiary sector, under which agriculture has always been termed as a primary sector, manufacturing as a secondary sector, and service sector as a tertiary sector. Many of us might have believed that India has been ever going bridesmaid, like India has been always a developing country and never been termed as a developed country. My dear friends, that is because after the agrarian economy, we directly jumped into service sector. And that is why India has often been always labeled as a country which is generally assembled with respect to the people who talk about services rather than just going there and being there. It is almost important that to understand a service sector, it needs to understand that it has always been an umbrella. Service sector is never a standalone sector, but it has the capacity to take the people along with it. And that's why some of the sectors like health, welfare, tourism, leisure activities, and recreation have always been good in terms of India. Well, have you forgotten about Kerala, the land which is considered to be a recreational stream? Have we considered the things like which have important in terms of Goa, which has helped us in boosting the economy in terms of leisure and tourism? And that's why we can definitely say, as rightly pointed out, the service sector bears the biggest burden in order to carry out India the next time, that is 3 trillion economy, so that we can definitely help it to reach the 5 million mark. In the past 6 years, the service sector has undergone a sea change, in which turn it has given us the independent sector of it being a primary source of income for India. We can simply say that though the challenges have been occurred due to the investments, the stalling of investments, the challenges due to the disinvestments of the foreign projects. But my dear friends, even during the COVID-19, when everything else was stalled, service sector was going strong. Though it has been said that the prediction was made in 2019 and India showed negative growth in 2020 and 21 due to the prediction of COVID, the overall outbreak and problems. But my dear friends, even in those horrid times, India fared very well in many of the sectors. Online delivery platforms bloomed, online services bloomed, work from home increased, and overall employment rates were still stagnant rather than reducing. And that's why service sectors still tried to boost the economy when manufacturing sectors, transportation was stalled. And that is why even the 6 services like medicines, online services, healthcare services, and services like coupled with manufacturing of pharmaceutical services grew by leaps and bounds. And hence, this sector can never be underestimated in order to overtake the future. Moreover, this sector has also provided a major impact in terms of foreign exchange. Well, a person who is working in IT has definitely been given the task to undergo the sea change or handle the different types of agendas which are provided by US and UK market, which are generally transferred in terms of remuneration and gives us foreign exchange. India has always been considered to be a central hub due to its skill, due to its manpower, availability of human resource as a primary location, or we can say a definitive location to tap for the service sector. And that's why in order to have a modern economic development of the country, India can show the way because of the availability of services, because of the availability of skills and the people around it. As rightly pointed out, the gross value overall in terms of percentage, we can simply say the overall percentage of capitulated by the services has grown by leaps and bounds. It might be even the traveling, it might be transportation, the insurances, the business services, and the software services. The India has always been bullish in terms of delivering what it has promised, specifically in terms of service sector. Jagan Singh Puri, the earlier person who was associated with HDFC Bank, he proclaimed that though many of the cynics have said that India might not be able to live up to the reputation of the strongest growing economy when it had rather passed on a British UK economy in order to become a trillion economy or the fifth largest economy. Many were cynical that India might not be able to sustain the deliverables or the growth. But my dear friends, we need to understand that we are at a disadvantage of everything being counted or everything being calculated in terms of dollar, which is quite a volatile currency. And that's why whenever we say that India needs to perform better, not only in terms of rupees, but also in terms of dollars, many of the people have always underestimated India in that aspect. But the service sector has always been our rescuer. It has always lent us a helping hand, which has given us a freedom to express ourselves, the true capacity, the true blue-blooded India. The next thing, obviously, the next big thing. And that is why sectors like communication, financial sectors, transportation sectors, insurance sector have given up hope. Even during the times of COVID, the financial sector, or rather the insurance sector, expected unheard of surge because of the people being much more careful about planning the future. They were much more made aware because of the health benefits, the health insurance, and non-life insurances as well. And hence, in the overall sector, we can definitely see the trend that it has been quite stagnant. It has been growing by leaps and though telecom services have taken a hit, we can simply say, even though they have taken a hit, India forms one of the largest base in order to provide the overall communication services. Apart from being the second largest, the first largest economy, and secondly most crowded place, India has chosen its service providers very wisely. And hence, in terms of market services or market provision, India has come to forefront because there are major players who are like government players like BSNL, MTNL, private players like Airtel, joint ventures like Vodafone Idea, which have given us a sufficient impetus to move forward. The IT boom, or rather the internet provision boom, which has enabled us to use data in our day-to-day life, has given the impetus to rise from the ashes. India has risen from the ashes because of the availability of data. Long gone are the days when a data pack needed to be purchased. Nowadays, a data pack is coupled with the unlimited calling, and so that it can be used. The internet revolution, the data pack revolution, the overall usage has given an unheard of impetus in terms of economy. My dear friends, remember, just 5 to 6 years back, we were struggling to use 1 GB data even for the entire week. And nowadays, our daily allowances are nearly up to 1.5 GB of the data. And that too, many times, we are not able to get sufficiently head off. And we need to have an additional resource in order to use the data. The online services, the e-payment banks, the online education systems have been benefited with the availability of data. We can reach even the farthest of the nation, the farthest point in the rural area, if the services are available. And that is why the services have seen a sea change into availability of the data. While moving forward, we can definitely say that due to the different options like aviation, healthcare, tourism, telecommunication, we can safely say that something like education sector have seen a tremendous change or sea change in terms of FDIs. And that's why the initiatives that have helped India to grow by leaps and bounds include the growth demand. And that is why India has been bullish in terms of achieving this demand. Service sector has always been a dream boy. It is like the person who is ready to be just burst out in the open activity. And that's why when we talked about India in terms of just software services, Indian IT services itself can contribute up to 1 trillion by 2030. My dear friends, just imagine a single service sector and a minuscule operator like IT sector can breach 1 trillion mark individually. And my dear friends, just believe the projected market growth that we can achieve from it. We can simply say India's IT and business service market rate is currently tapped at 19.93 billion, which is quite huge in terms of Indian population. and it is a major contributor in getting the foreign exchange for India. India has always been given a trademark understanding of Global Innovation Index, and India has moved up by 2 spots in terms of better innovation and understanding in terms of implementation. That has also given us competitive advantage. Where else can you find a huge population which is English speaking, which can use and tap all the advantages, the people who are willing to work, the people who are quite flexible in terms of working their times, the people who are quite flexible in terms of working in different shifts and still delivering the best value possible. That is why India has always had the competitive advantage when in terms of comparing to the West. Government has also promoted necessary services with zero taxes like education and health services. Apart from implementing the GST regime, government in terms of implementing the basic services like necessary medicines and necessary services, they are under the zero GST policy regime. And that's why the government initiatives has also helped the small time education players or small time healthcare services to stay relevant even in the ultra competitive world. The government has also announced a new helicopter policy which has helped to build hubs and corridors, such as earlier it used to develop the ACZs. Now the policy support has helped us to develop the health education services or general education services as a dedicated corridors, and that has enabled us to move in the different direction altogether. It has also helped the Indian economy and mindset to move by rapid force so that the trillion economy is within the gasping sight. The overall investment increase by the India and the Indian services have been recipient of largest FDI inflows like 94.19 billion between the April 2000 to March 2022. My dear friends, we should also understand during this time, the 2 years, the entire world was at standstill, but still India did fairly well in terms of bringing FDIs like in the sectors of manufacturing of specifically medicines and services. And that's why we were able to stay relevant during the times of crisis. In the first half of 2021, private equity investments in India stood at 11.82 billion as compared to 5.43 in the earlier period. My dear friends, this is a clear significant move that has enabled us to move forward. The 5 main advantages of service sector, as that can be rightly pointed out, that has helped India to build a next thing is it need not have any inventory. My dear friends, services are intangible. And that's why when we build them from the scratch, they do not need warehouse, they cannot be stored. It needs skill, it needs manpower, and it needs promises and ability to deliver. And that's why a no inventory capacity will always help in terms of giving an additional advantage to service sector. In a country like India, wherein we actually have the shortage of world-class warehouses, well, services comes down to your rescue. As compared to manufacturing sector, a service sector is quite easy to start. It might be a small-time hotel. It can be a general haircutting salon. It can be just providing someone with the required educational guidance, and it is there. And that is why it requires less investment. It is easier to start up, and many times with respect to people's response or right target audiences response, it is easy to move on as well. A service sector, unlike a manufacturing sector, offers flexible working hours. Working in a service sector provides flexibility. It can be in terms of shifts, it can be in terms of executing what you actually had planned and delivering it with the utmost capability and promises. And that is how a flexible hour guarantees a better performance. Because specifically as rightly pointed out by Dr. Nirzar Kulkarni sir, India is still facing challenges in terms of bridging gender gap, gender payment issues, and sex ratios. Herein, when we talk about service sector, the gender does not play a huge role when it comes to employability, and hence men and women equally can contribute. And specifically, women were quite benefited because due to the emergence of service sector because of flexible working hours. And with the upcoming task, with the impetus given on the service sector, the overall employment rate is bound to grow. The service is quite quick to change.
The service is quite flexible. The services are quite adaptable. And that's why service sector companies can adapt much easily to the needs of customer rather than what we can say a manufacturing economy or a modern economy, wherein the impetus is based on market research. A customer satisfaction survey can go a long way when we try and tap the service sector. It also was highlighted that even in the times of sea change, even in the times of crisis, when every world was still standstill, the online platforms like Swiggy, Zomato, online and offline platforms, the hotels were able to deliver the food at your doorstep. And that's why it provided job even in the times of crisis. The new opportunities like Big Basket or the opportunities like Delicious opened up the capacity to have people aligning your jobs and delivering every desired result at your doorstep. EduTech, FinTech are all on the rise. And though they might not be profitable at this current stage, many of the people feel that EduTech has given people an impetus, an opportunity to learn anything that they want from the best in the business. And that is why the things like online payments, the thing like online education has enabled people to give out a better service as compared to our earlier stagnant era, wherein services were dependent on the people and place and were stationed or limited due to the lack of approachability by the customers. When we talk about the significance of the service sector, we can definitely say that the overall gross value added at the current price of service sector was estimated to be 96.54 lakh crore in year 2021-22, which roughly accounts to 53.89% of total India's gross value added. My dear friends, let us try and understand. The service sector holds the highest share in the country's net national product, that is NGP, and that's why it has become emerging economy in terms of moving forward, in terms of getting work from the GDP, in terms of crossing USDs, and it has also surfaced the other economies which were priorly developed or which were doing very well in terms of tourism or other sectors. And that's why services like growth of agriculture, in terms of productivity of good, it has given us a good work-life balance, a growth market. And that is why overall investments, the overall international trade has been given in terms of service sector. Services have also managed to disable the disparities which were in terms of located due to the region. Now, the things like KPOs and BPOs have enabled Indians to work on a global platform. The only qualification which is needed is your ability, your skill, and obviously the communication skills that have enabled the India to be present at a national platform. It has removed the regional disparities. A Sam talking across the world might be just a person, a Sham sitting across the world, or a person who is named as George might just be one of your neighborhood person who has been answering your query. And that is why the ability to communicate, the ability to work in flexible hours have removed the regional disparities. Some of the major contributions in the service sector for the Indian economy have been in terms of research and development services. India, specifically in the last 5 years, have came out leaps and bounds in terms of healthcare research and healthcare services. It has also moved on from a probable destination to the most desired destination. My dear friends, many of you might be quite surprised to know that an average person earning, let's say 5 lakh rupees in India can afford a good health service as compared to a person who is almost earning 3 times the US value and is still not able to afford the similar kind of health service in US. Because in developed countries, specifically in US, UK, and Western economies, the health services have gone by leaps and bounds and they are being charged heavily. And that is why we can simply say that specifically in terms of health sector, research, and developmental services, India has come out on the top. It has been seen as a desired destination or a destination wherein you can get a good quality healthcare services at an affordable price. And that is wherein the success key lies, where the people with the brain, the people with the brawn have been able to fulfill the potential. India have often been given a burden of fulfilling the telecom services. Many of the people feel that though many of the big players have died, the demand for the telecom services has remained robust. And in the upcoming years, India expects to add around another 5 to 10 crores of the subscribers in the upcoming markets. And that is why the services of telecom have given a full-blown new air to the wings of the Indian economy. During the times of COVID-19, we can simply say that India was one of the sectors under which the telecom services flourished. It might be due to online education, it might be due to work from home concept, or even the people who were locked in their homes and hence needed more data just to entertain themselves. But telecom services have been able to live up to the expectations from them. IT and ITES has always given an impetus and has always been the blue-eyed boy when it came to the service sector. And that is why, though it had shown a significant slowdown due to the recession in Western world, IT still remains strong, and layoffs in terms of economy with respect to India have been quite few. Many of you might have been going through the news wherein Twitter, Facebook have had a massive layoff, but it has impacted the Indian market the least as compared to the Western market because of the capability to work in a flexible hour and its backup supporting services which are indeed needed. India has been one of the favorites when it comes to affordable tourism, and that's why hospitality and tourism have grown by leaps and bounds. Though it came to standstill during the season of 2021, it is expected to grow at around 15% in the upcoming years. Remember the days that we always used to plan a trip to Goa, every person's dream trip, but that was cancelled due to the last time. Only in the last 2 years, it was cancelled due to COVID. But hey, the things are opening up again. The tourism has resorted to its normalcy. And that's why we can simply say that the tourism services are next in line. Well, apart from the service, let's talk about some primary things like agriculture industry. India is one of the major players when it comes to agriculture sector. Even today, almost 58% of India's population is directly or indirectly linked to the livelihood that is obtained from agriculture. India has always been the largest producer when it came to wheat and sugar. But my dear friends, India still has a lot of unutilized capacity, and that is why it lands second in terms of fruit, vegetables, rice, cotton, and sugar. India has always been forefront in terms of agriculture produce, but we have not been able to fulfill the potential by providing the required impetus. Because earlier, just like this, it said that in terms of nepotism, an actor's son or daughter becomes the actor, but specifically agricultural sector, the pattern is not followed because of the challenges. And that is why, though agricultural industry is still a huge primary source of income for 58% of the India's population, it has faced several backlash in terms of overcoming farmers' problems, farm laws, or even protestation during the COVID-19. Though, even if you go to a market today, we might not be able to secure a good amount of vegetable before giving away 100 rupees. But the efforts given by the farmer is still not rewarded as much. And that is why, though agriculture industry is looking forward to reverbate itself, the farmers are still very much hopeful in reverbating or rather refurbishing their lifestyle. And that's why, even though the agricultural challenges are there, farmers are integral part for the better sustenance. The rising levels of rural-urban area have contributed to increased demand in agricultural products. The overall consumerism has also helped us to change the way we do our agricultural practices. The use of a more organic product has also become a status symbol. And that is why an additional support can be obtained from the people who are specifically focusing on green market, agricultural producers which are organic, and it has also given us a huge help and impetus in terms of moving forward. In accordance with this, the market is being stipulated by the growing of adoption of cutting-edge techniques like usage of artificial intelligence, usage of availability of information, usage of availability of knowledge in terms of agrarian economies, it has also been used. The specifics of geographical information system have been used by leaps and bounds. Some of the people have also used remote sensing technologies to predict the weather conditions in a much better manner. A farmer equipped with a better information, artificially intelligent provided services can deal with these problems in a much better manner. In terms of exports, the sector has seen quite a good growth in FY22, and the marine products stood at US 6.12 billion. India has been blessed with a huge coastal line wherein the marine products and specific fishes are quite aligned in terms of foreign taste, and that's why India has seen a huge growth in terms of marine products. Basmati, India's favorite chawal, we can say. Every biryani lover, your dreams of Basmati, and that is why exports of Basmati and non-Basmati rice stood at 6.12 billion. That is, apart from fulfilling the requirement of your regular market, that simply shows the mind-boggling capacity of India to deliver and cater the world, even after serving after almost 1.4 billion people or feed them and still able to serve that amount of rice shows its capacity to cater the market. The overall sugar export stood at 2.7 billion, 700 billion. India has always been in forefront and always stood first or second when it came to sugar production. And even after purifying or mutilating the capacity to moving forward, the sugar exports have always been better or have been seen as one of the best sugar exporters across the world. Indian tea, or rather the famous Assam tea, has been adding a significant value when we have moved forward. And that is why the tea producing country, India, has always stood number one. And who doesn't like a good chai when it came to having what do you would like to have? And the most common answer is chai. So even after fulfilling the requirement of the entire population, India was able to export tea at almost to the tune of 570.15 million. Many other conglomerates have also expedited and have used their expertise in terms of using the coffee exports, which have given them an impetus of 719.95 million, which has used and contributed significantly when it came to moving forward. While moving forward, some of the major investments and development in agriculture can be depicted in the following points. According to the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, the Indian food processing industry has cumulatively attracted FDIs, which are equivalent to 2.55 billion. And that is quite a significant number, as the entire duration which was planned out required a huge FSSI, that is security boards clearances. Food aspects are always looked upon as a critical thing which requires quite a hygiene, which requires impetus as well as understanding of the situation. And hence, food processing industry has cumulatively grown due to the FDI. It can be due to the foreign brands, it can be with the conglomerates, or even in the joint partnerships. In 2022, the government of India planned to launch Kisan drones for crop, which has helped to become a more digitization of land records. Even in a state like MP, which basically bestows itself, prouds itself more on agricultural economy, has enabled themselves to use e-governance in terms of using the agricultural exports. Specifically in agricultural dominated states like UP, Madhya Pradesh, they have actually installed an additional way of digitization of land records, and they have also developed a place wherein the drones were also launched. India's agriculture and processed food industry products are currently looking up with respect to 14% year-on-year growth, wherein in the upcoming days, the 14% will just be a number and it might go till the 20% as well. The gross value added by the agriculture and allied sector was stood at around 18.8 during the financial year of 21-22. And the agriculture record a growth of 3.9%. Now, my dear friends, many of you might be considering, apart from a GDP expected growth of 7%, the agriculture actually pulled down the GDP growth. But alas, we should never forget that these were the tough times, And even during the tough time, the agriculture supported us with the wholeheartedness and were able to provide us with the fulfilledness of the required things. And hence, though the growth rates were quite low, it can significantly be said that due to the implementation of better options, due to the impetus given by the foreign policies and the new policies implemented by government, we can simply move forward in terms of execution. It can further be said that the organic food segment in India is expected to grow at the CAGR of 10% during the 15 to 25 year, and that is why it is estimated to reach around 75,000 crore or 10.73 billion. Apart from 2025 itself, we can definitely say that the world has changed its outlook looking towards India, and that's why organic food hub, or rather we can say the Ayurvedic foods, are also being targeted in terms of growth. The processed food market in India is expected to grow at around 34,51,352.5 crore, that is almost 470 billion crores, $470 billion by 2025, which was earliest installed as 263 billion. Hasn't it been a fantastic journey? And that is why the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, or the US 1 trillion economic planned infrastructure, can definitely be achieved. We can simply say from 2017 to 2020, India received almost 1 billion in agri-tech funding, and we have used it in the more implementable manner. Though India still lacks when it comes to modern agricultural system, we can definitely say the reforms are in place. Obviously, we need to learn from our neighboring countries, or some of the Western countries, which have used this opportunity to immediately recuperate it in order to have a better impact. For example, in countries like Germany, if you are a landowner, rather agricultural landowner, you are being tasked upon to report every year's produce to the government. If you are not willing to contribute through the agricultural income, then the government actually pays you some of the remuneration and takes the agricultural land on lease and uses it in order to use it as to generate agricultural source income. In India, almost 20 to 25% of the land is kept barren. It might be due to different stalled projects. It might be different due to the different economies. It might be due to the different lack of approachability. But still, my dear friend, if that land is used, we can definitely fulfill the required impetus which is required or expected from a country like India in terms of agriculture. We can simply say that Indian agri-tech companies have witnessed a huge surge in terms of investment and is expected to generate around 30 to 35 billion by 2025. Nestle, a world famous company originating from Switzerland, has almost invested 700 crores in order to have its 9th largest factory in Gujarat. And remember, my dear friends, Gujarat is seen as a hub. It has the largest milk producer from India, yes, Amul. And still, Nestle was interested to invest itself in Gujarat. That just shows its faith in Indian economy to grow along with the overall trillion economy market so that the things can be achieved. We can simply say that the gross value added in terms of allied sectors have been quite dynamic in the last some of the years. It can be due to the changes of conditions, it can be due to the lockdown, or even the revised estimates that were planned. The market size has rather shrunk and grown as per the requirement. In financial year 2021, the gross value added by the agricultural allied economy was quietly plopped at 271.90 billion, which I feel is still less as compared to the expected price or expected value that was incurred. But my dear friends, that does not deter anyone of us in believing from agricultural sector. Some of the areas which have improved in the last year have been wheat, pulses, and oilseeds. Due to the overall yellow revolution, India has also come to forefront in terms of fulfillment of its oil requirement. And that is why the oilseeds requirement or oilseed execution has also seen a jump in the last 10 years. The overall key trends in terms of moving forward with respect to allied industries include provision of marine products, spices, raw cotton, and fulfilling of sugar and meat requirements as an allied industry business apart from the basic agricultural business. As it was rightly pointed out, during the last 5 years, the agricultural exports have shown a capacity to move ahead with respect to agricultural products capacity. And that is why, though in the years of 2018 and 19, we were stalled at around 38 or 39 when it came to export, it suddenly jumped to $50.21 billion, and we are well on course to become the strongest exporter when it comes to agricultural income. Some of the initiatives that have helped for India to become a booming economy when it came to agriculture include Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, which include provision of water requirements to fulfill the agricultural reforms. It also helped the people to have a better accessibility to fulfill the land requirements, water requirements, which were required and tapped by several intermediaries, and the data was provided for the implementation of this skill. Obviously, though the scheme was planned at a grand stage, it is still to reach the masses. But the people who have been benefited have sung high praises of the scheme. And that is why the digitalization of the agriculture has helped like anything. India was the first country to introduce Fasal Bima Yojana, or the scheme which was directly insurance scheme for fulfillment of crop requirement at a very grassroots level. Remember, my dear friends, India being a huge country has faced challenges to reach out even the ruralest of the part. And that is why, though it is always said that the scheme was delayed, the efforts were not. And the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, or the crop insurance scheme, was always looked upon from the hopeful eyes of the given things. The robust demand provided by the people have always been a large population. It has been given impetus due to the rise in urban and rural income. The consumerism has always encouraged us to move forward. In April 2021, the government of India approved PLI scheme, the policy support scheme for food processing sector, which has enabled us to give an incentive of 10,900 crores, which over a period of 6 years, starting from the year 2022. The Krishi Udan 2.0 scheme has always also offered the assistance and incentive in moving the agricultural income. Obviously, the road ahead would be expected in order to fulfill, wherein the ambitious goal of doubling the farm income, implementation of Matsya Sampada Yojana, genetically modified crops to improve the yields, genetically modified crops to lessen the damage caused by insects are also planned. The TQM concepts, along with ISO 9000 and 22,000, hazard analysis, critical points control, GMPs, that is good manufacturing practices, have also been given a huge benefit. The agri exports have been planned accordance to the Vision 2024. And that is why we can simply say that India being fulfilled and self-sufficient in terms of pulses, fulfilling the required expectations, fulfilling the required deliberations, have been on the path in terms of delivering the roadmap. Well, after all the given platform and roadmap, I would like to thank for the patient audience, and I am open to questions if any.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your ideas and providing a wonderful lecture. And participants, you have any queries, you have mentioned the queries in our chat box as well.
Okay. Yeah. I may go into question answer. I haven't seen any question as of now, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay. Next, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Jay O Agron, and he is the lecturer in Isabela, and he is an editor-in-chief of Research Research Journal. He is an advisor of student publication, State University and San Mateo campus, and he has delivered his keynote talks in various national and international events. Glad to have your presence, sir. The session is over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my presentation, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to the organizers of this webinar for having me as one of your speakers. It is such an honor to be speaking before an audience coming from a foreign land. And as a neophyte in the academe, I know that I have a lot more to learn, but I hope that I will be able to impart something insightful to all of you today. By the way, I hope you are having a good time at this moment. This will just be a short lecture on education in a modern society. So I'll be talking about some of the concerns of education in a modern society, such as teaching quality, determinants of teaching quality, critical issues in education, and the implementation of online learning in higher education institutions. Okay, let's begin by knowing the concept education. I know that all of us are very familiar with education, and we all know that it is a rigid process in which a teacher and a learner interact to achieve desired outcomes. All teachers must consider teaching intentional or deliberate. When teachers see education that requires a careful planning, the achievement of learning goals and standards become more possible. The teaching learning process has three primary elements. Those are the teachers, the learners, and the content. Teachers are considered as the primary movers of our curriculum. Without them, our curriculum remains lifeless. We must bear in mind that curriculum is just a blueprint or a plan. What gives life to it is instruction through the help of teachers. One of the things that we need to consider in teaching is the individual needs of learners. This implies that each learner in our classroom is different. They differ in many aspects such as physical, biological, cultural, emotional, the list goes on. These differences tell us that as teachers, we must individualize learning, or we must pay attention to the individual differences of our learners as they differ in learning needs and opportunities. There are several concepts that come into play when we talk about the individual differences of our learners. We can think of differentiated instruction, salad bowl concept, cultural pluralism, and melting pot. Differentiated instruction recognizes the varying needs of every learner. These needs can be broadly categorized based on the domains or outcomes of learning. These are cognitive, which refers to the knowledge of a person, affective, which refers to the value or attitude of that person, and psychomotor, the skills of that person. We have to mention this because one of our goals as teachers is to develop holistic and functional members of the society. Differentiated instruction is in consonance with salad bowl and cultural pluralism. Salad bowl is a concept which states that every member of the learning community is unique and has the right to retain their culture, hence the term cultural pluralism. On the contrary, melting pot is a concept that aims to melt down the minor culture in that classroom so that the major culture prevails. The concepts that I have just mentioned are relevant to the attainment of Sustainable Development Goal number 4, or quality education, which aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Inclusive and equitable, what does this mean? An inclusive and equitable education acknowledges the right of every learner to quality education. This means that regardless of their background, young and old, rich and poor, normal and with special learning needs, they are entitled to their educational rights as stipulated in a constitution or an international convention. The attainment of SDG number 4, quality education, is dependent on several factors, one of which is the quality of a teacher. Teachers, as argued a while ago, are the primary movers of our curriculum. Competent instruction depends on them. Research shows that education is a good investment if we want to increase our human capital. And human capital, as we know, helps sustain the economy of a nation. There is a problem, however, and that is the mechanism that we can use to measure teaching quality. The most commonly considered dimensions in evaluating quality teachers are the following. We have knowledge of the subject matter, teacher certification status, academic tested ability, teaching experience, and degree of in-service training. Under knowledge of the subject matter, we have the undergraduate and graduate courses completed by the teacher, the degree of the teacher in his field of specialization, the scores of the teacher on national teacher examination in the Philippines. We have this what we call board licensure examination for professional teachers, or BLEP. And that board examination intended for aspiring teachers identifies who is lawfully qualified to practice the teaching profession. And under academic tested ability, we have the scores of tests before entering the higher education institution, or HEI, and the measures of intelligence quotient, or IQ. These dimensions, as you have observed, are observable characteristics because they are quantifiable. If we say quantifiable, they can be measured. Now, here comes the problem. Are these the only factors contributory to the effectiveness of a teacher? The answer is obviously no. Teaching quality is not limited to these identified factors, but these are the most commonly used in evaluating teacher performance. This implies that there is a lack of mechanism that can be used to evaluate teaching quality. On this note, it can be said that it is really very difficult to measure the quality of a teacher. Santiago 2002 said that quality of teachers matters, but it is hard to predict who is going to be a good teacher just by considering observable characteristics. But according to this same author, there is a comprehensive framework that we can use to measure teaching quality. As you can see on your screen right now, we not only have the observable characteristics, we also have unobservable characteristics. And the author also included teaching environment, which is subdivided into two subcategories. We have teaching technology, and under teaching technology, we have teaching and learning practices, academic standards and assessment practices, and class size and teaching loads. The next subcategory is school environment. We have under these partnerships, parental and community involvement, peer effects, internal organization of schools, leadership and academic norms, safety, and quality of facilities. Under unobservable characteristics, we have the verbal ability of a person, the clarity of his or her communication, the communication skills of teachers in general, their teamwork skills, classroom skills, motivation to work with the students, commitment to student success, flexibility, creativity, task-oriented behavior, vision of purposes of instruction. Other determinants include the ones on the right side of your screen. Facing your screen, we have here teacher quality, teaching environment, and leading to the measurement of teaching quality. Now, let's proceed to technology-mediated education. When we say technology-mediated instruction, it is the use of educational technology in delivering learning contents to learners. I am very sure that all of us can relate because we were recently faced with the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. In the policy brief issued by the United Nations in 2020, the organization reported that the pandemic's magnitude brought the education sector at the top of most affected sector, prompting the closures of schools in over 160 countries with over 1 billion affected learners. Various challenges emerge as a result of the shift to distance learning. There are also significant gaps in the availability of digital equipment and the computer skills of teachers and learners, most especially in developing countries. You can check the study of Ferry et al. 2020 as your reference. Because of the technology-mediated instruction implemented by higher education institutions and even the basic education, we encountered this what we call digital divide. Digital divide is a term that we use to describe the scenario between the underprivileged and the well-off students. The underprivileged do not have access to good technological infrastructure, while the well-off students have access to educational technologies that can help them in the teaching learning process. This digital divide leads to a discrepancy in the performance of learners under asynchronous learning arrangement. The lack of electronic gadget has been identified indeed as a pressing issue in synchronous learning. However, even if students would have the technology to attend virtual classes, it still won't guarantee learning success because high-speed internet connectivity is a necessity in synchronous learning. This means that without internet connectivity, access to synchronous classes would still be impossible even in the presence of an electronic gadget. Let's take a look at the case of the Philippines. 74% of public schools in the Philippines do not have access to internet connectivity. That's according to Jones 2019 as cited in Joaquin et al. 2020. Now, why did I share with you these findings? Because I want to draw your attention to the effect or the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the implementation of SEL in a public higher education in the province of Isabela, Philippines. As you can see on your screen right now, we have here a table showing you the grand mean, the verbal description, and the factors affecting the implementation of SEL in a public higher education institution. This is a survey conducted by yours truly and the campus administrator of Isabela State University San Mateo campus, Dr. Rosalie C. Leal. And based on the survey we conducted, students' learning facilities got the highest grand mean, which means that without the learning facilities needed for synchronous learning, participation in virtual classes would be a big problem. These learning facilities include smartphones or cellular phones, tablets, computers, laptops, and the likes. Based on the same survey, the respondents showed a positive attitude toward SEL even if it is relatively new to them. This positive result could be attributed to the strengths of using SEL, such as its flexibility and ability to connect learners and educators without having to meet face-to-face. I presented you these findings because I want to share with you a contextualized analysis of the status of education in one higher education institution in the Philippines. What can we infer from the data and the data of other studies is that Education 5.0 or the strong integration of technology in education is not for everybody. Although the implementation of online learning has been found successful in other countries, most especially in developed countries, we cannot make a generalization out of a very small portion of the whole academic community. Now, I would like to zoom in your attention to the critical issues in education in a modern society. The first one is national expenditures and quality teaching. Because of the lack of a mechanism in measuring teaching quality, it becomes more interesting to question whether or not the people whom we are serving are receiving the kind of education they deserve. It is important to consider this because the state is duty-bound to protect, promote, and enhance the quality of education at all levels, from primary to elementary, secondary, and tertiary, and even postgraduate studies. Now, if a teacher is holding a high position, he or she will receive a higher salary compared to his or her subordinate. This means that if teachers are holding high academic ranks, the national government has higher expenditures without ascertaining whether or not such a compensation is being reciprocated by quality or with quality service. I would like to cite Santiago 2002 again for arguing that requiring a master's degree as a basic requirement upon entry to HEIs is a questionable policy because such a degree does not guarantee teaching quality. If this is so, compensation for teachers must be modified based on quality and not degree. Yes, we use several evaluation tools, but the question is how comprehensive are these tools? Do these tools really measure the quality of a teacher? Those are questions that we have to put in mind. The next issue that I would like to emphasize is the quality of instruction after 2 years in the teaching profession. This is another critical issue because research shows that teacher performance decreases after 2 years in the profession. This finding must caution the education sector as it speaks volumes of the practices in the academy. This finding would make one think about the experiences of teachers, more particularly the young ones. Moreover, a teacher's teaching experience or length of service is said to have a positive relationship with his or her effectiveness. However, literature along this line of research has not been consistent throughout the years. One study concludes that there is little evidence showing improvement in teaching performance after 2 years. And this contention leads us to my next point, which is the attractiveness of the teaching profession. The question now is, what should we do to retain teachers in the profession and avoid brain drain from happening? Because whether we like it or not, a number of promising teachers are leaving the profession, and this really points to the attractiveness of the teaching profession. Is the teaching profession attractive enough to lure teacher candidates and to retain practicing teachers? Or are there other attractive professions that offer a more competitive salary? The high number of teachers leaving the teaching profession can be attributed to endurance, not enthusiasm, because even the most passionate teachers are not spared from experiencing the peak of intellectual and physical exhaustion. If we want our teachers to deliver competent instruction, we must invest in them. One may argue that the government has to increase the salary of teachers. Well, an increased salary may attract individuals to pursue teaching, but studies show that salary does not impact the overall quality distribution of teachers and the performance of students. The last issue that I would like to share with you is the issue of the impact of professional development on instruction. I said it before, but I will never get tired of saying it again and again. Attending seminars, trainings, conferences, graduate studies, and the like is a requirement for teachers at all levels of education. The purpose of attending to these development programs is to equip teachers with knowledge and skills relevant to competent instruction. We allocate budget for their attendance to these professional development programs. The problem with most professional development programs, however, is their short-term nature. Because they are short-term, formative feedback from experts on the improvement of teachers is insufficient, explaining the ineffective impact of professional development on the quality of teaching. What can we glean from these issues based on the discussion that I just gave you? We can say that we have to revisit our policies from the national level down to the local level and review these policies so that the goal of providing education, as is stated in the Sustainable Development Goal, that is relevant and responsive to the needs of our students in a changing world. And in order to achieve that, we have to revisit our policies. Again, education increases human capital, which triggers economic growth and development. That's why the focus of my discussion is on the quality of education. Now, I would just like to include this in my presentation. This part of my presentation is a very personal one. This is supposed to be reserved for a separate discussion, but I would like to take this chance to share with you Carol Dweck's mindset, the new psychology of success. This may help us better understand the teaching learning process. I inserted this topic because Dweck, as well as Angela Duckworth, helped me change my perspectives on teaching. Duckworth is another psychologist known for her research on grittiness. According to Carol Dweck, there are two types of mindsets. We have the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. Okay, we have here, this is a simple activity wherein you need to tell me whether you agree or disagree with the statements, but don't bother to answer these statements anymore. I will just give you the interpretation of these statements. You are supposed to identify you're supposed to answer the statements whether you agree or disagree with the given statements. The first set of this first set of statement refers to the intelligence mindset, and the second set of statement refers to the personality mindset. I'm just going to read the statements here given by Carol Dweck. Number one, your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can change very much. Do you agree or disagree? If you agreed with the statement, that means that you have a fixed mindset. Number two, you can learn new things, but you can't really change how intelligent you are. If you agreed with the statement, you have a growth mindset. No matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. If you agreed with the statement, you have a fixed mindset, and you can always substantially change how intelligent you are. If you agreed, you have a growth mindset. Now let's proceed to the personality mindset, also given by Carol Dweck. You also need to decide whether you agree or disagree with each statement, but I would not like to burden you, so I'm going to read and just interpret what each statement means. For number one, you are a certain kind of person, and there is not much that can be done to really change that. No matter what kind of person you are, you can always change substantially. Number three, you can do things differently, but the important parts of who you are can't be really changed. And number four, you can always change the basic things about the kind of person you are. Now, items 1 and 2 are the fixed mindset items, and items 3 and 4 reflect the growth mindset. We've been talking about quality education, and I want to share this with you because this is, for me, this is a breakthrough in the field of educational psychology, and this will really help improve the quality of our education and the quality of our learners. Now, I've been talking about the fixed and growth mindset. It's about time we differentiate the two terms. If you are a fixed mindset individual, you believe that your intelligence and abilities are fixed and your success is based on your innate capacity. However, if you are a growth mindset individual, you believe that what you have can be improved or cultivated, and that success is really hard earned. In other words, it is your commitment to your goals and the degree of efforts you exert that you put into what you do that make you realize your goals. Moreover, fixed mindset individuals fear failure. That is why their goal is to never look dumb. Instead, they will try their very best to avoid tasks that threaten them because failure for them invalidates their worth. These people are also interested in feedback that reflects on their ability. In contrast, growth mindset individuals are willing to take risks and take failures as opportunities for new learning and improvement. Now, the differentiation between the fixed and growth mindset gives us an idea on how should evaluation and feedback be given to students. Whether we admit it or not, sometimes we only praise performing students. For an instance, if a child learns something quickly, we would say, "You're so smart." Or when a child got the highest score in an examination without even studying, we would say, "You're so brilliant," even if you did not study. Now, if we are going to analyze those comments or feedback, we will realize that what we have been praising all this time is the talent or skill or intelligence or ability of our learners, and our focus is on the outcome. We all understand that intelligence and talents are factors of achievement, but what we rarely realize is the process that our learners have to go through to achieve learning outcomes. That is where effort comes in. If I may quote, intelligence is one thing. What we do with it is quite another. The highly accomplished were paragons of perseverance, meaning what drives a person to act is his or her effort. So what seems to be a very good comment may lead to having a fixed mindset. But the good news is that we can help our learners grow a growth mindset, because even the renowned psychologist Alfred Binet himself, who was known for his IQ test, said that intelligence is not fixed. Now, to conclude my presentation, based on the findings, the literature that I discussed with you, we can say that education is multifaceted. One cannot fully understand education without looking into every angle of it: teachers, learners, curriculum, instruction, materials, policies, etc. By considering the whole spectrum of education, we will be able to identify which needs reforms. From this, we'll be able to provide education that has the power to transform people, who in turn will help sustain our society. That would be all. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Ryan Jay O Agron, a public servant from Isabela State University, San Mateo, Isabela, Philippines. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your ideas and providing a wonderful lecture. Once again, I thank our expert speakers for leading their time to impart their knowledge on the quality improvement. And I would like to thank our beloved delegates who actively participated in the webinar. And the certificate downloading details will be sent to your mail ID. If you have any queries, you just contact our ISBRS members as well. And thank you. I would wish you each and everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.